Welcome back to the video, and in today's video, we're ranking every single breakfast item. As you can see on the screen, we got a ton of breakfast items to go through. Before we get into the video, please sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to join the train to 1K because we are so close. We are 50 away. So if you're new and you like the content, please sure to subscribe. Also, comment down below where you think you would have put in these breakfast items and what you agree or disagree with my list. You can see the categories below. It's pretty simple. S tier is those are like the elite tier breakfast items. We have the A tier, which is like the very solid breakfast items. B, solid. C, average. D, not great. And then F is horrible. A ton of breakfast items to go through, so that's going to be it for the intro. Let's get straight into the video. So the first breakfast item we got is the cereal. I'm putting the cereal in S tier. It's such a staple when you're talking about the breakfast items. I mean, there's so many different flavors and there's so many different brands, there's so many different it's just it's unique. And having it with milk, it's one of those things where, especially with me, I've had a lot of phases of going in and out of cereal. But when I was a child, that was my breakfast. Having cereal in the morning was my breakfast. Mostly it was honeycomb or honey nut Cheerios, but every single cereal brand is really, really good. I'm putting cereal in S tier because it's the staple of my childhood. Next up, we have, is that the omelet? Right, it's gotta be the omelet. There's no way is there another omelet on here? Um, I'm just looking through to make sure that there's no other omelet. That is the omelet. I'm gonna put the omelet in B tier. I think the omelet's solid. Sometimes I think it can be a little bit basic, but if you can fill it up with a lot of different things, then I think it's really good. It's a bit of a weird way to cook an egg. It kind of tastes a little funny texture-wise, but I think if everything's in there, like the bacon and a bunch of different like fruits and well, not fruits, but you know what I mean, like a bunch of different kinds of food in there, then it's pretty good. But on plain, it's not great. Next up, we have the hash browns. I guess, are they gonna consider hash browns as a whole? No, they're not. They're put. So this is like these kind of hash browns. I'll put these ones. I'll put them into A tier. I like hash browns a lot. You know, I like the McDonald's type one that you can see down below, but we'll get to that one later. But yeah, I think this is a very, very solid way to eat hash browns. Hash browns are good. They have good flavor. You can mix them with a ton of things. I've heard people put hash browns in ketchup. I don't know if that's a really good thing, but I've never really tried it before because I don't really like ketchup. But it's a lot of variety with hash browns. I'm putting it in A tier. Next up, we have the English muffin. I'm not a big English muffin fan. It's probably my least favorite thing. I would put this in. I put it in F tier. I'm not a big English muffin fan. I think the texture is weird. I don't think it has a lot of flavor. And even if you put butter on it, I don't think it really gives that satisfaction that a bagel would have. Speaking of bagels, next up we have actually no, this is bagel. I think this is a plain bagel, and then these are like seed. Unless that's something else. I'm gonna say this is a bagel. I don't know. It looks like a donut. Is it a donut? Is this it has to be a bagel. If it's a plain bagel, I'll put it into C tier. Here's the reasons why. It's because I go in and out of these phases where I really, really like to have bagels, but then I drop them for 2 years. So it's like, how much can you really put it? How high can you really put it when I don't really have it that often? But I do get into a craving with bagels where every like 2 weeks every a year, I'll go on a big rampage of just eating them every single morning. But they're not that great overall. C tier. Next up, we have the muffin. I'm gonna put these in A tier ahead of hash browns. These are so incredible. I can't put them in S tier because I don't have them enough. But like the chocolate chip or the blueberry muffins are so incredibly good, taste wise, and it really fills you up in the morning. It's a great morning breakfast. Next, we have avocado toast. This is one of the rare opinions. I do not like avocado on toast. I'm gonna put this in F tier. I don't like it on toast. I'll put it ahead of English muffin because I enjoy having it on an English muffin. I think avocado toast might be one of the most overrated breakfast items. I get the idea of it. I think if you like it, you like it. But it's a lot of a love-hate relationship with a lot of people. You either love it or you hate it. There's really no in between. I'm not a big fan of avocado toast. I just don't think those two components work well together. Next up, we have the cinnamon roll. I mean, this is what you picture, at least for me, on Christmas morning, wake up and having cinnamon rolls. It is such a good memory. Cinnamon rolls are incredibly good. They're basically a candy. They're basically a treat for breakfast. They are so good, packed with flavor. The cinnamon hits, the sugar hits, the cream inside. I don't know what kind of cream it is, but it hits. Everything is so incredibly good. The cinnamon roll is going to go S tier. Next up, we have fruit. I know it's gonna have a weird opinion. Like people might, oh my god, why is fruit here? I don't think that fruit's that good. I'm gonna put fruit into A tier. Like fruit is very, very versatile, and I think it's always a solid breakfast item to have, especially like oranges or like apples or mango or any kind of fruit that I actually do like. It's a great morning breakfast. Again, I don't really have it too much, but fruit, if it's fresh, it's a solid breakfast item. Next up, we have the yogurt smoothie. I'm not a fan of this. I'm putting this in F tier. Actually, I'll put it in D tier because I've had some that were actually good. But I just think granola mixed with yogurt mixed with fruit, I don't think it all works well together. It's just, again, it's a lot of components that I think when put together makes it worse. Next up, we have the ham, plain ham. This is the definition of a C tier. It's fine, and I guess this is like the same thing. I'll put both of them. I guess this one will be non-cooked and this is cooked. So I guess I'll put cooked ham in B tier because I like cooked ham better than non-cooked ham. But ham, if it's on its own, it's kind of plain. It's fine. With a sandwich, it's good, but for breakfast, when it's just plain like that, I'm not a big fan. I'll just put it in B for the cooked and C tier for the non-cooked. Next up, we have bacon. Is this even a question? This is S tier. I'm actually gonna put it bottom of S because I think I enjoy having cinnamon rolls and cereal much more. But bacon is it's such a universal breakfast item in the world. It's so incredibly good. The tenderness, the juiciness, the crunch. I love it so much, and the flavor that pops out of one small bit of bacon is amazing. S tier for bacon. Next up, we have the hollandaise, whatever you want to call this. I don't know what you call this one. It's like a sandwich with a. I do not like that like liquid yellow egg part. When the egg pops out, I don't like it that much. I'm putting this into D tier. It's not horrible. I know some people do like it. I've had it for Christmas a lot. It's just not. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like the gooiness. I don't think they work well together, and I'm not a big fan. Next up, we have the baked beans. I don't necessarily have these for breakfast. I probably the UK they do. But beans in general, I think for breakfast I'll put it in C tier because I just don't think I'm ever gonna have baked beans for breakfast. But for dinner, it's fantastic. It's just I don't have it for breakfast. Next up, is this another form of hash browns or is this like croutons? I think this is like the more square form of hash brown. I'll put these also in A tier right next to each other. They're kind of the same thing. I'm cool with it. Next up, we have I should know. Is this crab cake? I think this is crab cake. Crab cake is good. Crab cake is really good. I'll put this a high B. I do like crab cake. I think it's a very solid item. I don't know how high I can rate it because I don't really have crab cake that often. When I do have it, it kind of bombs. I'll put it in B tier. Next up, we have grits. I'm F tier. When have I don't think I've ever tried a grit, but it just looks like the most disgusting thing ever. Maybe if I try it, I'll like it, but I don't really want to try it because it just looks disgusting. Next up, we have the sausage. Again, like not my favorite thing to eat in the morning. I'll put this again in C tier. I'll put it at the top of it because I do like sausage. It's just in the morning, not the biggest fan. Next up, we have like the McDonald's like what do they call this? The McDonald's like patty. Um, I don't mind them, but they're not my favorite. I think they're kind of the definition of like a C tier around this range. I don't mind them from McDonald's. They're decent, but they're not anything special. I think flavor wise, they have a very weird flavor that I don't particularly enjoy, but I know some people like them, so I'll put them in C tier. Next up is pizza toast. It's classic. It's good. I'll put this in a B tier around here because you can't really put it. I'll put it at the top B tier because you can't really put it that high because it is very plain. But at least it has more flavor than the bagel has, so I'll give it B tier. Next up, we have oatmeal. I think oatmeal is so incredibly underrated. I know people will say, "Oh, it's mushy, it's gross." I'm putting oatmeal into the bottom of S tier. I do love oatmeal. I have it a lot, especially with fruit or you mix it. I love the apple cinnamon oatmeal. It's so incredibly good. Great flavor. Mix it with peanut butter. It's great. S tier. It's so versatile. So again, these are where we're going to go into the eggs. We might as well do all the eggs together. So I actually don't know what they're called. These are like deviled or like poached eggs, I think, or something like that, right? They're like wait, what's poached? I think these are poached, and these are boiled. Okay, so poached eggs I'll put into C tier. Again, my favorite type of eggs is scrambled eggs. We'll get to that later. Hard boiled, I'll put it into D tier. I'm not a big hard boiled egg fan. I'll put it at the top of it. And then scramble, I'm gonna put in the S tier. I know scramble's the easiest to make, but in my opinion, scramble is the best tasting. I don't really like when you taste that like that yolk like I don't like when you taste that yolk all in one bite. It's quite too much. I'll put eggs better than oatmeal, better than bacon. Probably not better than cinnamon roll cereal because that's my childhood right there. But I would put S tier for scrambled, C tier for poached, and D tier for like hard boiled. I know that's probably gonna make people mad. That's just what I think. Next up, we have the pancake. I'm putting the pancake into. I just realized we don't even have waffles on this list. I gotta fix that. Where's the waffles? Um, I will put. This is kind of tough. I'll put pancakes into A tier, probably like close with muffin, but I'll put muffin a little bit higher. I do like pancakes a lot. It's probably my favorite breakfast. Actually, waffles are my favorite. I put waffles in S tier, but they don't have waffles here. But yeah, I think that they're really, really good. I do really enjoy pancakes. Just super buttery, flavorful. Adding syrup is great as well. Next we have the French toast, and I know this gonna like make a lot of people mad. I'm not a big French toast fan. I'll put this in C tier because I know people like it, and I do like it sometimes. It's so hit or miss, and the flavor is just not my flavor. I know it's gonna make a lot of people mad. It just feels a little too gooey, and the flavor is, again, I'm repeating myself, but it's just my that flavor is just not my flavor in my opinion. Next up, we have the hash brown that they get at McDonald's. I'm gonna put this into B tier, in the middle of it. I know people like love the McDonald's hash browns. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's decent, it's solid, but I wouldn't say it's better than like those chopped hash browns in my opinion. Next up is this the same thing? I don't know. I'll put in the same tier. I don't know what it is. Maybe they're potatoes, but whatever. I'll put them in the same tier. Next up, we have like the sesame bagel. I put regular bagel in C tier, so I'll put sesame a little bit below because I think I like regular better. But bagels are bagels. You really can't complain. Next up, we have the croissant. I'm putting the croissant at another S tier. Probably at the bottom of it, but it's so incredibly good. You can have it in breakfast sandwiches. You can have it plain. You can have it with chocolate inside of it. It's so versatile, and the flavor of it is amazing, especially if you warm them up. Oh my goodness, the best flavor. Next up, we have the donut. I put the donut in S tier. You have to, and you're probably gonna put it around this range. I think cereal is gonna be my number one in my opinion, but I think a close second comes donuts. It's so unhealthy, but it's so good. I mean, it's more of a dessert item, but you have it for breakfast. It's great. Next up, we have the biscuits. I'll put them in like low B. I like biscuits, but again, just like a piece of toast. They're not very versatile and they're quite plain. So I'll just put them in B tier. And last but not least, we have steak and eggs. I'm not gonna lie, I never really tried steak and eggs, but I just think that's such a weird combo. I'm gonna put this in the bottom of D tier because I think that's a weird combo with steak and eggs. I guess for protein, but for me, as being a runner, I don't really need that. So I'm gonna put it in D tier. And that's me ranking every single breakfast item. If you like the video, please make sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new and enjoying the content because we are on the road to 1K and you don't want to miss out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!